Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Li Wei from the Behavior and Biology Lab of Institute of Psychology, Chinese Academy of Sciences. Here, I'm very glad to introduce my doctoral research, the structural changes of gut microbiota of the Parkinson's disease patients and its correlation with its clinical phenotypes. Here is an epidemiology investigation of PD from the Lancet Neurology. PD is the second neurodegeneration disease after Alzheimer's disease. And the prevalence rate among the whole population is about 0.3%. And its prevalence among the people above age 60 is about 1%. And the reported incident rate about PD is about 8 to 18 among 1 million people. The pathological hallmarks of PD is the degeneration of the dopaminergic neurons in the middle brain, and which will cause a series of motor deficits like rest tremor, rigidity, slowness of movement, and posture instability. And the pathological hallmarks of PD is that scientists have found the nude bodies in the brain of PD patients. The etiology of PD has not been clearly found yet, but we know that the pathologic process of PD is slowly. Generally, the patients have reported constipation and RBD and anxiety and depressive disorders before about 10 years of the clinical stage. And in the early clinical stage, that is the first 1 to 5 years, the patients will demonstrate a series of motor deficits like rest tremor, rigidity, and slowness of movement. But after 5 years, that is the latter stage of the PD disease, the patients will show the posture instability and on and off phenomenon, and even some have developed the dementia, and and generally the clinical treatment at present is the left dopamine, which is effective, but it cannot stop the development of PD, and which have very serious side effects. So that's why we're looking for a new therapy of PD. Here we listed some relevant factors of PD. So far, the genetics have found 11 gene mutations involved in family PD, but the epidemiology investigation have showed that only 10% of sporadic PD are genetic, and which means 90% of sporadic PD are not family genetic, are not family herited. That's why we're looking for the environment factors which influence PD. Some environmental factors have been identified are the stress, inflammation, environmental toxin, and dietary, smoking. All of these factors we think are all concerned with the gut microbiota. And a new review from the Lancet Neurology have demonstrated some GI disorders in Parkinson's disease, which said that 70 to 100% of PD patients have reported gastrointestinal disorders, and 80 to 90% of PD patients have reported constipation, and 25% to 55% of PD patients have reported small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And also, many PD patients have reported the infection of Helicobacter pylori. That's why we put forward our hypothesis. We think that the gut microbiome of PD may be differentiated from the health controls, and this change of gut microbiome may be correlated with the PD clinical phenotypes. Based on this hypothesis, I designed my experiments. I compared the gut microbiota of PD from different taxonomic levels, and I also compared the structure difference of PD patients, the structural difference between PD patients and the health controls. For the next step, I did the correlation analysis of the gut microbiota and the common PD clinical phenotypes. We recruited our participants from the Beijing Hospital, the neurological department of Beijing Hospital, and our controls from the local citizens, and we collected the fecal samples of our subjects and extracted the DNA samples from each patient, and we collected the clinical informations like the UPDRS, the Holm and Yard stage, the NMSS scale, the Wexner constipation scale, the Hamilton anxiety and depression scale. Altogether, we recruited 43 PD patients and 41 health controls, but owing to the but in the process of the experiment, we have lost some patients, and we found some fecal samples are not qualified. So finally, we have 24 PD patients in group and 14 health controls. And furtherly, we divided PD patients into the minor PD patient group and the major PD patient group. Here is a pipeline of the bioinformatics analysis. We did the 16S RNA high throughput sequencing of the fecal samples, and we get the and we did the OTU analysis, taxonomic composition analysis, as well as the hierarchy clustering analysis. In the future, Based on my research, we can prospect that in future we may evaluate and predict a person's risk of PD by an early monitoring of one's fecal samples. And comparing with change in the human genome, it is more practical and safer to change the gut microbiome by targeted probiotic supplement. Thank you. Thank you.